Hey guys, welcome to today's video. I want to talk about the Tudor Black Bay GMT and specifically why I think now is a decent time to pick up one of these watches if you're interested in it. Now, when it first came out, it was crazy popular. Everyone was talking about the new Pepsi GMT from Tudor. In fact, at the time, during that Basel, the Black Bay 58 was also announced, but no one was really talking about that one. Everyone was talking about the GMT, and it's been one of the most popular watches from Tudor over the past year. And finally, the hype and the popularity has started to quiet a little bit, started to subside, to come down. And for that reason, I think it's a good one to consider right now if you're in the market for a true GMT movement, for a traveler's watch, for just a nice piece at a reasonable price when it comes to Swiss luxury. Now, it's kind of interesting. The Black Bay 58 is kind of harder to find now and held in higher regard than the GMT for the most part with us watch idiot savants. I think that's kind of funny how it's flip-flopped from when the original announcement at Basel took place. So it now is a pretty decent time. If you look on the secondary market, you look at pre-owned prices for examples in excellent condition on a bracelet originally from an authorized dealer, you can find this watch for sub $4,000, which is lower than the retail price. And for a true GMT movement of this quality with the detail work, the presence, the fit, the finishing, I think it's a pretty decent value proposition. Now, what else could you buy that's on the market today? Probably the most popular GMT movement would be the 2893 from ETA. And I've owned this movement in a couple different watches. I've reviewed it a few times. The one that I owned was in a Breitling Avenger GMT, and I really enjoyed it. That watch was very, very thin, and I really liked that. But the thing with the 2893, it's not a true GMT movement. You can't independently adjust the local hand or the hour hand forward and backward. You just adjust the GMT hand. So it's nice for keeping track of a secondary time zone, but it's not ideal for traveling. It's not ideal for, like daylight savings or the end of the month when you have to adjust the date, right? So, I mean, it's decent and it's relatively inexpensive. You can find this movement in watches that cost sub $1,000. But for me, there really is no appeal to it after having experienced a true GMT movement like I have in my GMT Master 2. Being able to independently adjust the hour hand forward and backward is just awesome without hacking the movement, obviously. And being able to keep track of a third time zone and have the rotating bezel is just icing on the cake. So if you do travel on a regular basis, this watch probably represents the best value or the best buy for getting a true GMT movement at the market. Now, what are the competitors that are not using 2893s? Well, I think at least the only one that really comes to mind is actually from Grand Seiko. And you have a couple options. You can actually go with the spring drive GMT, or you can go with one of their high accuracy quartz. And both of them function as a true GMT watch. Both of them are absolutely beautiful, impressive. Grand Seiko, I can't say enough good about the product that they bring to the market. I mean, they bring excellent product, but they're very different from Swiss luxury. And I think for the most part, I mean, the times may be changing a little bit, but the average watch guy, the average watch fan would prefer the things that the Swiss bring to the market with a more solid bracelet, more name cachet and recognition. And at least with this Tudor, with its tie-in to its older brother Rolex, and the Pepsi, which is one of the hottest Rolex sport models that you can buy, there's some strength and some appeal to that. So I think majority of people would probably be happier with the Tudor Black Bay GMT over, say, a spring drive GMT from Grand Seiko or one of their high accuracy quartz movements. So again, guys, I think now is a pretty decent time. The prices are coming down, the hype is coming down a little bit, and maybe that's something flawed about my own character, but when everybody loves something and everybody's freaking out and hyping a particular model, it loses a little bit of luster, a little bit of desirability in my eyes. And so when when that kind of subsides, I don't know, maybe it's just my personality, but I find those models more attractive now that everybody's not talking about them and wanting them, so to speak. So hopefully that makes sense. Now the movement is actually pretty impressive. If you look at the specifications here, we've got some nice things going on. We have strong movement architecture, a free sprung balance set in a full balance bridge. The hairspring is silicone, so it's anti-magnetic. There's a decent power reserve, and Tudor really fine-tunes these. Every time I've seen one of their in-house movements, it always has crazy amplitude, very dialed in, 1 or 2 seconds off at most when it comes to the day-to-day accuracy in multiple positions. So they're obviously doing something really well here. The downfall is it's a fairly thick movement, and that's reflected in the mid case. It's reflected on how it wears on wrist. My wrists are just a hair over 7.25 inches, and you guys can see it's a tall watch. Is it comfortable? Yeah, it is comfortable, but I'm not going to lie here. You notice the height, and I don't think it's a deal breaker, at least for me personally, but I much would prefer a thinner mid case, a thinner movement. Again, I really love the way that Avenger GMT wore from Breitling. That was a very thin watch. I think it was under 12 millimeters if I'm remembering correctly. But no, the GMT here from Tudor, it's not a deal breaker with how tall it is, but it is a little tall. And I know a lot of you would prefer a thinner movement. So really, I think that's the biggest downfall or drawback in my eyes, even though you do get used to it. You do get used to the height and the way it wears. I've been borrowing this one from my buddy Mike for the past couple weeks, and I have been wearing it. I have it here on this German-made stave mesh, which I really like. Really like the way this looks and wears. But yeah, I've kind of gotten used to the height, and when I look at my wrist, it doesn't feel too tall, even though I recognize that it is tall, if that makes sense. So guys, a lot to like here from Tudor, specifically this GMT. Yeah, I think it's a solid offering. Right now is a decent time. The hype has died down. The prices are creeping down. And really, if you look at its competitors, you look at the market, it's probably the best buy. Now, I know Omega and Panerai are offering movements that have jumping hour features, which I love. I love seeing that. I think it's super handy, especially if you travel. But no, they're not true GMT movements. You don't have the rotating bezel. You don't have the ability to track multiple time zones, but it is a great feature. And I'd love to see more brands do similar things with their in-house calibers. So again, guys, before this video gets too long, Tudor Black Bay GMT is just a great piece. I'm enjoying it. Is it perfect? No. Prices are coming down. I think it's becoming a better buy and a good value proposition. So let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for taking the time to watch today, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.